So comments will come up.
Mm-hmm. Wait, full screen. Wait, let me comment on it.
Okay. Hi, how is everyone? I'm still playing with the mechanics of everything here. I think I have successfully got to the comment page. Awesome. Hello. See Dean and the Kavitskis are here. Hey, Larry. Yeah, we're good. All right, we're all set. Julie was helping with the technical difficulties. All right, who else is here? Yeah, awesome. Mike sounds good for everyone. Hey, Kristen, Johnny, good to see you. Hey, Kelsey. Nice. Natalie's here. Awesome. Hey, Natalie and Dave. Awesome. Well, it looks like, is everybody all in? Did I get everybody? All right, awesome. So it looks like pretty much everyone is all in. While maybe a few other people are logging in, I thought I would say hello and give a quick introduction. Some of you know me. I started here at Field and Main in September of 24 as a server, and then later on joining in on the wine team. Hey, Barbara and Jed, good to see you. Yes, I am very much interested in wine. I'd say maybe about 10 years ago or so, I became specifically interested in wine after having worked in the hospitality industry since I was a teenager. And, wine and becoming a sommelier really has opened a lot of doors for me and made me feel more like that this is actually a career instead of just a job that you work, right? But yes, so I got certified with the Court of Master Sommeliers back in 2022. And before that, in 2020, I did the Wine and Spirit Education Trust Level 3. And somehow in the midst of 2020, passed that with merit. So that was exciting. So in theory, I should know what I'm talking about with wine, but we will see how it works out today in practice. Hey, Krista and Hayden, good to see you. Awesome. So if everyone is ready, looks like we have a red wine this evening. If anyone needs me to slow down, just let me know. All right. So tonight we have a red wine. And first thing we want to do is look at the color. There's so much we can tell about the wine just from the color. I'm holding mine up against what was closest to me, which is like a box with some words on it. So I like to hold up my wine to a piece of paper or something with writing on it so I can really see how transparent the wine is. For me, this is pretty transparent. I can see the words and pictures right below the glass. Yeah, it is a screw top. Not a Roussan. Yeah, I'm gonna join Sarah there and say it's not a Roussan tonight. And it's not a white wine at all. So we've already eliminated at least 50% of the possible grapes of the world. And yes, good to note that it is a screw top. I'll get to that in a minute about like what that can and can't tell us. But yeah, so definitely a thinner skin, lower concentration grape. And those, we can automatically kind of go to that being a bit of like a cooler climate. Typically in warmer climates, we'll find thicker skinned, more like developed concentration there. Matthew is definitely right. It's definitely not an IPA either. And I think Dory also made a good comment that it looks to be young. For those who are newer to tasting, we can tell the wine's youth or age also by the color. If it had been fading into more of a tawny sort of brownish color, then we would assume that it's seen a little time either in bottle or having aged in barrel before being bottled. That oxygen exposure is what's going to let red wines lose color and kind of get into some tawny shades, whereas a white wine would gain color and become richer golds and kind of into those brown tawnies. Bottle shape says it's not a Bordeaux. That's true. And I always, there's things like screw caps and bottle shape that will take us to a certain place, but in the wide world of wine, there could be a Virginia or California or Texas producer, wanting to make a Cabernet with a screw cap in a Burgundy bottle. That's not to say that this, is that case, but it's good to try to keep an open mind, even when it's hard. Sometimes we lock on to either a smell or the shape of the bottle, or there's or a color, and then it wants us to go down a certain road. So it's hard, but let's try to keep an open mind. So already from the color, I'm getting kind of like this light ruby and not a lot of rim variation, and it looks like Dean said the same thing, that the color is consistent, just very narrow clear rim. Yeah, I would agree to that too. Yeah, there's definitely a more acceptance of screw caps. I've even seen a study that I can't recall who it came from, but saying that there's really not a significant difference between bottles aged in screw cap versus ones aged in cork closure bottles. So yeah, the screw caps have really come a long way. It used to be, you would get a screw cap wine and assume that it was cheap and not well made and it was mass produced, but that's just really not the case anymore. I was just recently in New Zealand, which was an incredible trip, and I recommend anybody to go there. And they're quite famous for using screw caps, New Zealand and Australia, because they were a little bit later to commercial winemaking, and a lot of the corks that were available to them just weren't very high quality. So they kind of pivoted and went with the screw cap or Stelvin cap. All right, let's smell this wine. I like to try to, before I even physically put my nose down into the glass, try to like um, get a little bit of the aromas like from further away. It's going to tell me if this is a highly aromatic grape or if it's a not very aromatic grape. If it wasn't very aromatic and I really had to like stick my nose in the glass, that would be indicative of a few things too. But for me, like, even I'm trying to profile, even being like this far away, I'm getting some really pretty aromas, and fairly strong too. For me, it's very fresh, adding to that thought that this is probably a younger wine. Fresh flowers, rose petal, violet petal, hibiscus. Is anyone else getting some florals here? I also am finding a lot of like like ripe, juicy strawberry, like maybe even like red plum, raspberry. Yeah, spice. What's indicating to everybody that it has some wood? What like specific spices are you getting here? Yeah. For me, it's the floral is really driving the bus. I could like I do agree that there's some spice here, but I think it's really kind of hiding out in the back. Yeah, cardamom. Yeah, I like that. It's definitely it's not super cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, but there's a little something there. It's not for me again, it's not jumping out, but yeah, floral, strawberry. How about any earthy notes? Any wet rock, mushrooms, desiccated wood? Um, anyone getting compost or potting soil, anything in that kind of earthy camp? Yeah, cardamom again. And for me, it's almost like the green like cardamom seed too. It's like fresh cardamom. As I am not a chef and I only really cook at home, um, that particular spice isn't one I have a ton of experience with, but it's I don't know. For me, when I think of cardamom, it's like lighter. Yeah, yeah, cherry and black cherry. Oh, you decanted. Okay, interesting. We did not here. Julie poured this for me maybe like 5 or 10 minutes before we started. Yeah, getting more vanilla, not getting so much earthy notes. Smoke. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so we can already. So we're already kind of in this camp of a fruit and floral forward wine, something that's seen a little bit of oak, something younger, and something thinner skin. So we've already eliminated a lot of things. Just before we even get into the palette, is there anything that anyone has like written off? Like it's definitely not. Like, what do we think it's definitely not? For me, I'm like I've already eliminated Bordeaux, like specifically the Bordeaux region, and back to I believe it was Dean's comment that it was not a Bordeaux shaped bottle. So we can say, pretty confidently there's really I can't think of a single producer that I've had from Bordeaux that's used a screw cap and a burgundy bottle. So oh you first thought was Shiraz, Sarah, as an elimination or as a possibility? I'm not against the idea of Shiraz. I haven't like totally written that off, but for me, the if it was Australian Shiraz, I'd expect a little more color. I'd expect a little more heat. Like I would think like my little nose hairs would be like burning from the alcohol if it was Australian Shiraz, but not always. And I always do get like a little bit more green with Shiraz. Yeah, Dean, I agree. Not cab. Zin, I'm gonna keep as a maybe because Zin can sometimes get that like fruity floral. I always get like peach yogurt with Zin, and apparently I'm not the only one. I've heard other people say it, but I think of like peach yoplait. Larry says not Beaujolais. All right. I think it could be Beaujolais. I haven't written away Beaujolais. It would be consistent with the bottle shape and the screw cap wouldn't be out of the question for Beaujolais. Yeah. So on the nose, we're already kind of it sounds like we're either in like a really light body, cooler climate, old world camp, or we're planting our feet somewhere in America or Australia. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get into um, oh, well, before we get into the palette, I know Neil likes to put it as few, talking about a few things about the wine: fruit, earth, and wood. So we definitely talked about fruit and we talked about florals. We kind of didn't really detect any earthiness. And then wood, we did talk about there being some notes of cardamom and some other spices. So that would indicate that there's probably some new French oak aging here. Maybe not a ton, but some. And that also like can kind of eliminate some parts of the world that really won't use any oak aging. Yeah, I'm not in an Italian or a Spanish camp either, Dean. Yeah. All right, now let's get into the palette. Hmm. Um, I like to talk about the structure first when I'm going through the palette. This has like a nice little elevated acidity. It's like medium plus. It's not super low. Um, what does everyone think about the tannins here? For me, it's the tannins are like medium minus really more in the low camp. They kind of just like slide right back and that's it. Yeah, I agree with Christian. I'm getting definitely more of a New World feel here. Yeah, light to medium body for sure. This almost seems like a wine you could serve with like a little bit of a chill, especially on days when it's hot and you're outside and you're having a barbecue. Oh yeah, a Jig and Dot is kind of like this. Yeah, Grenache can definitely play this way where the tannins are really low, the acidity is like medium plus, um, and that juicy kind of red and black fruit. I know a couple people said black cherry. It is more so on the palate. Am I getting some black fruit, like a little blackberry, um, black plum? Yeah, yeah, I agree with Dean. Low tannins, higher acid, deck wine. Yeah, for sure. I you could drink this on a hot day, like I said, and you could even serve it slightly chilled, and I think it would be really delicious. Reds with like lower tannin can do nice with a chill. Where if you try to chill something like a cab, something that's high tannin, it like intensifies it. Yeah, there is. Yeah, definitely like a little burn of alcohol. I would say it's still pretty low for me. Um, but I can see a little bit coming out. I'm getting a little something more savory too on the palate that I didn't find on the nose. Is anyone else finding something a bit more savory to the palate? Like a little like herbs. Yeah, it does sound good. And also like I would love to have this with like a grilled lamb shank or like um maybe some ribs, something with like a little barbecue sauce. This would be super delicious. Yeah, Cinso could be in there. I don't get the chance often to drink 100% varietal Cinso, so it's kind of hard for me to give like a typical descriptor of it. Yeah, Sarah says she's still getting some smoke. I get like almost like a dried like there's a little like rosemary or lavender or some kind of um like there's some kind of herb on the palate more than I got on the nose. Yeah, it sounds like Zen. Yeah, barbecue in Zen is the best. Yeah, haven't rolled out their own either. Grenache is could be a big player here. I don't think it's Mourvedre. I don't think it's Syrah. Syrah for me would show more dark fruit and a lot more savoriness typically. But again, you know, different regions it'll present differently. Yeah, yeah, for sure. There's more dark fruit the longer we go through this too. Oh yeah, Hunter's chicken and herb sweet potato. That does sound good. That does sound good with this. Yeah, Curtis says he would expect Cinso a bit darker. And again, I applaud all of you who have found single varietal Cinso out in the wild because I never ever see it. So I'm happy that you guys see it and that you've seen it enough that you know what it tastes like on its own. Yeah, a little hint of rosemary, Dean. Yeah, I'm there too. Like the more it opens up, the more dark fruit and the little more savory I'm getting. I still don't. Even with that, it still doesn't say Syrah to me. I think Syrah like comes out the gate just like black olive, savory herbs. Pardon me. Cured meats, things like that. So I don't think it's like it's still not saying Syrah, neither French or Australian, to me. All right. Are there any other notes on the palate that anyone's finding that differ than what we talked about on the nose? Or things that are changing on the nose? Oh yeah. Pibble cuddle tax. That's funny, Sarah. We love Rockstar. Our little land hippo. Awesome. All right, so who has some thoughts on what the grape could be, where it could be from? Is anyone uh, having some guesses? Yeah. Yeah, Kristen said it's reminiscent of Cote de Rhone, and it kind of reminds me of last month I did this with Neil, and this wine like felt kind of similar where part of me really wanted to call it like I ended up calling it a New World Pinot. I think I called Willamette, and it turned out to be a Cote de Rhone, but it was so fruit forward and floral, I had kind of written off that part of the world. Yeah, more fruit coming up. I think there's also um, like more savoriness coming up, and it's very red and black fruit. Yeah, Grenache. Yeah, Grenache could be a good guess. So if we're thinking Grenache and we're thinking classic-ish regions or just regions in general where Grenache grows well, certainly the Southern Rhone. We could talk about Australia. We could talk about Spain. We could think New World could kind of grow just about anywhere in California. Could grow in Washington State. Willamette may be a little too cold for Grenache, but I'm sure I've seen some from Willamette. Yeah, bay leaf on the nose. Okay. Yeah. I know Sarah was picking up on a lot of smokiness too, which I didn't get it so much. But a grape that I thought of that I've had actually quite a couple really nice examples is Pais, Pais. It's also known as the Mission grape. This might be like a little too big for that, but it's a grape grown throughout California and Central and South America. Um, and it does present like somewhere between Gamay and like I don't know, somewhere between like Gamay and like Mourvedre or something a little more savory. Um, so that kind of came to mind for me, but that's pretty obscure. So if they picked Pais, they're really being mean to us. Yeah. Yes, a lot of Spanish Grenaches, yeah, they can be really big fruit bombs and done because they're typically grown in the hotter parts of the country, so they'll ripen quite a bit. California, yeah, maybe if we found like a nice like central coast, or Sierra foothills or somewhere a little bit cooler. A lot of Australian Grenache that I've had still that green comes through a lot. And I'll find some like, and again, my experience with Aussie Grenache isn't super extensive, but those feel a little bit hotter to me too. Julie Mean picking the wines? Uh-oh. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is always fun to pick something obscure, and that's one thing I really like about Neil doing this monthly program is when one is like practicing their blind tasting for testing situations like with the Court of Masters or with WSET, they give you a list of what grapes that they'll test you on. It's still a pretty extensive list, but you kind of get your blinders on to the other grapes. Where Neil and Julie do not play that game. It could be anything. All right, Dory thinks it's a Central California Zin. I like it. Yeah, Sarah likes some Mission Grape. All right, any other final guesses? Oh, that's right. Yeah, Neil did pick this one. Oh, yeah. And going back to that in the beginning where we noticed it was a screw cap and that it was a burgundy shaped bottle. And I specifically said, like, let's not, like not try to play the game of guessing what Neil would pick or guessing what it would be based on the bottle shape and try not to be hung up on those. I feel like Neil by like giving me a New Zealand wine since I just went there. Not, it's a bad Pinot Noir, which I could go on a whole tangent about how much I really, really love Pinot Noirs from Central Otago. So it's either going to be that and I'll guess it wrong, or I'll guess that and it won't be it. All right, Dean's on Australian Grenache. Curtis is leaning toward Grenache or Zin. All right, we're down to our last 5 minutes. Any other guesses? Aussie GSM 23, nice. Shiraz or Grenache, maybe Margaret River. Okay, yeah, I like that. That's a good one, Sarah. All right, Central California. Cool. All right, who's ready for the reveal? I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna go Central Otago Pinot Noir. I'm gonna go there. I think it's pretty light. I think it has like the marks of a New World Pinot Noir. Yeah. All right, who's ready? Speak now or hold your peace. I'm gonna reveal. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Oh, you guys are good. Who called Australian Grenache? This is Seppeltsfield Barossa Grenache, which I also tasted recently. Central Chicago, absolutely. No, I think I said Central Otago, which is in New Zealand. But we were just in Chicago. All right. So for those of you geniuses who called Aussie Grenache, you win. You did a really good job. I do stand by my my statement that it would be good with a chill and amazing with barbecue in the summertime. Awesome. Sarah liked it. Did everyone like the wine? Did anyone dislike the wine? Thanks, Dean. Try to do a good job. Nice. Does anyone have a thought of what they would want to pair with this wine? Yeah, it's a little light bodied for sure. Would I want this with a steak necessarily? I don't know. I'd probably want something a little more acidic and a little bit more tannic with like a ribeye, but I think this would be a fun one with I mean, I've said barbecue like 30 times, but I think grilled lighter meats. Yeah, pretty neutral to it. Yeah, and I think it's a good wine for, it could definitely be that crowd pleaser wine, right? When you're having a party, like your California cab only drinker friends are going to be okay with this, as would your friends who maybe like a lighter Pinot Noir. Oh yeah, nice little cheese and pate. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Well, awesome. So it looks like we're down to just our last 2 minutes here. I had a really fun time. I hope everyone else had a fun time. Maybe I'll fill in again when Neil is not available. Yeah, it's a good Tuesday wine for sure. Absolutely, yeah. This is something you could. I know in my house I have a very specific organization system for my wine. I have like a fridge with labeled shelves, and those are my testable wines and my special occasion wines. And then I have a fridge in the basement and a rack in the basement, and those are my anybody can come over and like grab one of those off the shelf. Thanks, Sarah. You guys did good too. You guys really, I need to drink more Australian Grenache, apparently. Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Thanks. All right. Any other fun comments, concerns, questions? Is everybody going to pick up a case of this for their 4th of July barbecue? I might. This and a grilled hot dog? Done. Hamburger? Done. All right, everybody. We've had our time. It was nice meeting everybody and seeing everyone via the live stream. And we will catch you next month. Have a great rest of your evening and happy, safe 4th of July to everybody. All right. I'm going to hit end now. Okay, bye.